Chest up, shoulders back. This is Revival Fitness. Those of you that don't know, a lot of you are young and you are not around for this, but Scott Herman is an OG in really like the truest sense. I mean, he was popular before Athlean-X. Like whenever I started in the gym, almost 10 years ago, Scott had millions of views. He used to do very basic exercise tutorials that used to be YouTube Fitness a long time ago. Now it's turned into the drama slop farm that it is today, and that I proudly participate in, but such is life. You can make the same case for every niche, every activity, as it expands more and more, and especially as the internet progresses, everything sort of devolves in that sense. And the guy that made the original video, he goes by Runvus. He is a relative newcomer to the scene. He got really big on Instagram earlier this year, making fun of the so-called science-based lifters. I don't think I've ever spoken to Scott beyond a couple YouTube comments. I've spoken to Runvus briefly on Instagram, but I've never had really extensive conversations or history with either of these guys.
All right, guys, unfortunately, it's time to shut it down. I've been training consistently for 27 years.
That is nearly as long as I've been alive.
I was 14 years old, just turned 41 last month.
I gotta give Scott credit. He looks very young for 41.
This video right here, it's a trend, and you guys have probably seen this trend where you basically wake up in the morning where you're feeling kind of flat, you don't put any kind of special lighting or anything like that, and you do a 360 and you talk about how old you are, how long you've been training. And you guys have known me for the past 16 years on YouTube. I always preach staying natural. Stay natural as long as you can, guys. It's not worth the risk. But of course, if you want to hop on gear, that's totally fine. And I have seen plenty of the guys that have taken my advice to get started and continue to progress, eventually jump on gear and then take it to the next level and even go and compete.
So he's not taking the entire virtue signaling, moral superiority angle that seems to have gone off the wayside a fair amount in recent years. There are still some people that make that their brand identity, and they will totally flip-flop on that as convenient whenever they can be business associates and friends with people that take gear, even openly. They totally turn a blind eye then. They're not superior then. The drug users are not bad people then. I called it out almost 5 years ago at this point, but the so-called noble natties are completely full of shit. They always have been. Now that said, as an overall message, encouraging people to stay natural does make sense.
And before I hit play here, guys, right? He's been training for about, I don't know how long he's been training, but I guess after 3.5 years, he hopped on gear. And this is his transformation.
I don't know the specifics of his timeline either, but I do believe he's been on gear for at least 2 to 3 years now, maybe a bit more. But he is open about it. He has been from day one, as far as I can tell. And as I've said, I can give props to anybody that is totally honest about using, because that in the fitness industry, even now it's becoming a bit more common, and people talk about it more openly, but even so, it is extremely rare to just get fully open, yes, I take PEDs, no asterisks, no rationalizations.
Incredible transformation. I'm not going to say anything bad about it, right?
But one thing is for sure, whether you're natural or not, we live in a world now that is an absolute train wreck for our hormones. You see a lot of talk and memes about soy boys and beta males and low T men, and there is certainly no shortage of them, but oftentimes, it's not even really their fault. This is the world now. There are hormone-disrupting microplastics and forever chemicals literally everywhere you turn. Food, water, cookware, clothing, soil, even in the air that we breathe. No matter how conscious that you may be, these things are inescapable. And as if that wasn't bad enough, our modern lifestyle is also really at odds with how our bodies are programmed. Lack of sunlight, endless screen time, broken circadian rhythms, inferior food quality, and more stress our bodies out more than they need to be. It's not an exaggeration to say that we're fighting an uphill battle every day, but thankfully, Mother Nature has our backs. There are a number of natural ingredients that have been clinically proven to support testosterone, not just total, but free T, as well as overall energy, recovery, and performance. And the sponsor of today's video, Mars Men, has a formula designed specifically to support all of these. Their natural testosterone support features 1,000 milligrams of both Tonkat Ali and fenugreek, 400 milligrams of shilajit, 675 milligrams of taurine, 4,000 IU of vitamin D, plus vitamin K1 and K2 for absorption, plus zinc, and boron. These ingredients are not only powerfully dosed and clinically backed, but work in synergy to support looking, feeling, and performing your best. You get all of these in one serving with Mars Men. Plus, they are made in the USA and routinely third-party tested for glyphosate and heavy metals as well. Mars Men backs all of their orders with a 90-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, you get a full refund, but looking at all of the reviews on their website, it's no surprise that they really don't have to give out many. And for a limited time, you can get 60% off for life and 3 free gifts when you use code REVIVAL at mengotomars.com. That's mengotomars.com using code REVIVAL at checkout. After you purchase, they're going to ask where you heard about them. So be sure to support this channel and tell them I sent you.
You need to focus on your goals and be competing with yourself, or else you're going to get lost, you're going to get off track, and you're probably at some point going to develop a pretty bad body dysmorphia.
I've said this before, but I think it's impossible not to get some degree of it in the modern scene.
Because then you're never going to be happy with how you look. Now, granted, there is a piece in all of us that is never truly happy with how we look, right? If anything, that's a motivation factor for a lot of us.
Exactly. That's what starts you in the gym in the first place, oftentimes, and that's what keeps you going. So even if you are a completely natural lifter, you still desire to improve yourself in all these given ways.
I know I'm never going to be as big as my gymspiration, Broly from Dragon Ball Z.
That's another good point. All of these natural zealots that worship anime characters, and if these anime characters were real, they would require tons of steroids to achieve. And then in real life, the people that look close to that, they say, oh, those steroid users are so bad. Don't be like them. Stay natty, bros. But you guys love the cartoon version. The actual people that do it, though, you clutched your pearls when you see them.
How big he is and how powerful he is has always been motivating to me when I go to the gym and train as hard as I can to see how big I can get my physique. But you have to make sure that you know exactly what your goals are so that you can be happy as you continue to make fitness a part of your lifestyle. Not everybody's a bodybuilder. I don't bodybuild. I don't compete on stage.
I appreciate you saying that, Scott. You guys know I cannot stand when these generic gym bros, and there's so many. I used to do it too many years ago. You call yourself a bodybuilder. You've never done bodybuilding. You're never going to. You don't want to, which is totally fine. But you want the label without actually doing all the things that bodybuilders do. Like just going to the gym and training to build muscle does not make you a bodybuilder. That's like saying you're a powerlifter because you max out on the bench and squat and deadlift in the gym on your own time. It's not sanctioned. It's not a competition.
I train in fitness to feel my best, to look my best, and to also be functional outside of the gym.
There's the F word, functional.
Figure out what your goal is, and if that goal leads you to eventually wanting to hop on PEDs, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just make sure you do it the right way. Well, here's a better photo of me from like 2 days after I posted that video, side by side with him. I'm pretty sure he's taller and weighs a bit more than me.
Yeah, so Scott said he was, I think, 5'10", 175, which, if you guys think that's really small, especially for his body fat, he looks to be roughly low teens here. You're going to be surprised if you think you're going to maintain much bigger than that naturally. But Runvus, I think, is like 6'2", 240 pounds. He's noticeably bigger. This is yet again why you cannot simply compare photos to get accurate comparisons of size. But this is something Runvus I saw talk about. He said that Scott scaled these pictures to make them look the same size, when they're really not.
I mean, both physiques look incredible. If you're going to leave a comment down below and say you would not want to have the same physique that I have naturally at 41 years old, you're full of shit.
He's right about that. The only people that would not want his physique at that age are essentially people that do bodybuilding, or they're just very, very intense general lifters. and they want to go beyond that.
All right, this is the most like Natty cell cope video that I've seen so far. So I'm going to attack these points one by one here.
And that's kind of the thing I noticed too, right? Is that guys on gear take it so personally when we talk about how proud we are of being natural or lifetime natural. It is a badge of honor. It's not easy to avoid that temptation, especially when you see your friends jumping on and they're getting bigger than you and they're getting stronger than you.
This is interesting because I brought this up many years ago too. A lot of these virtue signaling natties talk about, I wouldn't even consider taking steroids. They frame it as if it never even crossed their mind, like they're always so above it. And I argued, you're lying to yourself. You're obviously full of shit. And Scott's being honest here.
But that's why, like I said earlier, it's important to focus on what your goals are.
First, I'll just start off by saying 41, you look great for 41, dude. There's no denying that at all. This is not great for 27 years of consistent training, though.
And again, the video, as it stated in the beginning, is made to look flat. It's made to not look your best.
This is where the main argument's going to stem from, because a lot of you even would see 27 years of Scott's progress, regardless of the lighting and all that stuff. You would be like, 27 years, bro. You could do way better than that. A lot of you may think that you can, given a lot of you have only been training for 6 months to a year. You don't have a real reference point yet. But I'll just say off the bat, we'll talk about this more coming up, I'm sure. But if you think Scott's physique, totally clean, after 27 years, is unimpressive, you might have some issues with your expectations.
Well, if he thinks that I look like garbage, I guess he's kind of saying he looks like garbage because, I mean, I would argue that I look better than him here, but hey, that's just me.
Well, he didn't say you look like garbage. He said for the time frame, it's subpar.
He says at the end, I'll get to it, he's 175. It's not good.
I don't know why they fixate so much on weight, right? I don't want to be, like, I was 200 pounds. I showed you guys in my fasting video. I hated being 200 pounds. I was big. I was benching 275 incline, and that was cool and all, but I looked like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Like, I just didn't like how I felt. I enjoy running outside, right? That's part of my fitness lifestyle. I felt like I was running with like a 100-pound sack on my back, right? My face was puffy. I just didn't like it.
This goes back to what I said a moment ago. This is where the line is drawn between the general fitness people that just like training, and like Scott said, he runs too. A lot of people do things other than weights, whereas guys like Runvus, who does not do bodybuilding, at least that I've seen, I don't think he plans on it. But even the recreational, really serious meatheads, it's just how optimal can your physique be? How much size can you build? They look at everything through the lens of essentially just bodybuilding.
There are people in there, you know, kind of talking smack, and they're like, yeah, you know, back in 2015 when, you know, Scott looked a lot bigger and a lot better because he was bigger back then. 2015, boys, I was 165 pounds, right? That's the difference between being super lean and putting on body fat. So again, you have to stick to your own goals. And my goal is to get back to how I looked in 2015.
That's what it is. And you can look at Scott in the frame here. I mean, he's clearly not that big, just overall, right? I mean, you can see him in the shirt. He's not carrying some crazy amounts of mass, which is to be expected. One is you get leaner, and if you're natural, you're just not going to be able to carry absurd amounts of mass. It just does not happen.
It's not good for 27 years of constant training. I think that it's good if you want to be like above average in a room full of people that don't really work out.
Okay, so again, in a room full of people that don't really work out.
Yeah, that's not going to work, just even mathematically, because Scott's physique realistically is top 1%. Even Runvus on the left here has a top 1% physique. Now, I know in the fitness industry, you see guys that look better than both of these dudes every day, and it starts to warp your perception. You think a lot more people look like that than they actually do. In a room full of people, either of these two take their shirt off, people are going to be like, what the hell is going on?
That is slightly above average. Slightly a little bit above average. Okay, guys? Just keep that in mind.
But it's not good if you want to be above average in a room full of people that take this seriously. I don't think that it is. 100% lifetime natural, we can tell. Good job. No pump, natural lighting. Okay, congrats. This is good, I guess.
Kind of like just kind of runs through that point because he doesn't quite understand it or just chose not to.
This is something else I've told you guys too. Even guys on a lot of PEDs with world-class physiques, you get them under poor lighting, and depending on the angle and how candid the frame is, they can look mediocre too. This affects everybody. Nobody looks as good as they do with the pump and the lighting and the angle and all these photo elements. And even from the side here, the still image of Scott, I mean, if you cannot look at him and tell that he's got a good amount of muscle mass, I mean, look at his chest, his triceps, you can see his lower body's developed too, his back is sticking out a bit. He's clearly built. I mean, it's not remarkable for fitness industry standards, and realistically, I don't think Runvus fits that mold either. Like, his physique is not remarkable in of itself.
I have all my hair. That's fantastic. But again, hair transplants exist.
Why would you want to go down the road of getting a hair transplant and having to deal with that? Why would you want to increase the risk, especially if you're not a competitive bodybuilder?
Don't have to say competitive. It's implied in the name. That's like saying competitive powerlifter. It's redundant.
Why would you want to do all of these things, hopping on PEDs, that and have these risks of things that could happen to you, one of them being hair loss, if you knew eventually you probably were going to jump off gear and not do it anymore?
This goes back to the goals and priorities and incentives, because there are plenty of guys that will nuke their looks for maximum muscle gain. Now granted, a lot of them do nothing and they just go bald and accept it. Now we have the technology, like the hair transplant, you can overcome that, or at least, to a good extent. A lot of these things don't look the greatest, but it's far better than being bald, wearing a hat for the rest of your life, like a lot of bald guys do. But this comes down to preference. Like, do you want to maximize muscle gain? And if you're at genetic risk, especially, for losing hair rapidly, it's going to happen anyway, and the PEDs can accelerate that. It's up to you to decide.
There is a point in your life where you're probably going to hit the gym as hard as you can for 5 to 10 years, like in your teens to mid-20s, and that's like your entire life. And then you move out of your mom's basement, you get a job, you get a husband or wife, you have kids, you get promotions at work, and you're not going to be able to hit the gym as much as you want to.
This is something I've talked about a lot too. A lot of you guys that are spending just so much time in the gym overall, you can only do that because you're young.
And you're not going to run gear like you did before because there are health risks that go along with it. And you're going to be like, damn, I'd probably still have more hair in my head if I just trained consistently and didn't hop on PEDs because I don't even have those gains anymore because I've been off for so long.
That's something to consider as well. You see this all the time when bodybuilders retire. Sometimes they stop lifting altogether. Even if they don't, if they keep training, I mean, they will just shrink. And it goes to show that people are taking so much more than they claim, by the way. Because if people were taking these little baby doses like they say, you wouldn't just shrink to the degree that these people do. So if you're going to go the PED route, a lot of people simply just dive in the moment somebody tells them, hey, take this. I take it. It gave me better shoulders. They say, okay, that's how I'd say the vast majority of people go on PEDs. Just totally haphazardly, not thinking about it.
Losing your hair isn't exclusive to doing PEDs either. Yeah, it will accelerate that, but if you lose your hair on PEDs, you were going to lose it anyway.
Why would you want to lose your hair in your 20s if you weren't going to lose it until like your late 40s or 50s?
So you can't really blame the being natty for that. Like if you have this much hair at 41 naturally, you probably wouldn't have lost any of your hair on PEDs.
I think that's a fair assumption.
Everything still works, implying that he does not have erectile dysfunction. You don't just get that when you start taking steroids.
But it is a risk! Why would you want to risk your dick not working? Even if you do post-cycle therapy, that your balls and your penis do not work anymore.
Well, there's people on cycle, and they have that same problem.
If anything, out of all of the risks that come along with jumping on PEDs, that has probably been the number one thing that I have been like, you know what? It's just not worth it.
I do understand that. And there's ways you can get around that for sure. By changing up the dosages and the compounds and taking this or that, whatever, maybe removing certain things. But that's got to be the worst of all. You get this sick physique, and then you finally bag a woman, or you have a girlfriend or wife or whatever, and then you can't get it up in bed. I mean, that's just miserable, isn't it?
Do you really think a guy like this, and I'm not saying he does, But if he was having problems in the bedroom, do you think that he's really going to make a video about that and talk about it to his 88,000 subscribers that he has here on Instagram?
In the context of him and his account, he actually might, because he talks about PEDs and gives advice on them. So the people that are open about it, they may formally, openly discuss it. But anybody else, probably not.
Everybody's dick can still work on PEDs if you just do them right. This is clueless.
Let's assume you go down the enhanced road. Part of that's problem solving too. Like if you encounter these roadblocks, start to lose your hair, you get ED, etc. How smart are you to prepare for those in the first place, manage them as they come about, then get out of them?
No Roid Gut.
Roid Gut does not exist. Runvus is about to say the same thing. We'll see what Scott says here. But the concept of steroid gut or HGH gut, I still see that in all these comments. It's completely outdated. I might have to make a full video about that too.
What does that mean?
I mean, you know exactly what I'm talking about, bubble gut, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about, but he's just trying to, I guess, make the video be a bit more exciting by pretending like he doesn't. You all know what I mean when I say that.
Do you mean HGH gut? That's not even from HGH.
He's right, it is not.
Go watch any professional bodybuilding show and look at the dudes on stage and look at their guts. I would never want to look like that, which is why I'm 100% natural. I would never want to have a protruding roid gut because it just doesn't look good.
It does not look good, but the steroids really have no part in that at all. If it's anything, you could argue that it's insulin, which is not a steroid. It's really not growth hormone either. People think, oh, it distends your organs, bro. It really doesn't. There's plenty of guys on tons of growth hormone, and they have no steroid gut to speak of. People always point to only the open-level guys, and especially back in the day like Kai Green, Phil Heath, Ronnie at the end, when it was really getting bad. I gotta make the video about this, I suppose, because I don't want to go on the entire diatribe here, but the roid gut concept is totally flawed. And now we have Mike Israetel here. We'll see what he says about Mike, but I think Mike's case here is more a matter of the swelling after the surgery. And keep in mind, too, there's all kinds of normal people, totally natural, that have the same gut distension problem.
Look at Mike Israetel. His gut is terrible.
No saggy chest. I'm assuming what he means by that is gyno. And again, gyno's not exclusive to PEDs. I had gyno before I started.
But it is a risk.
You noticing the trend here? We're going to keep going in circles.
You don't have to get gyno on steroids. You can prevent it. And also, you can just get gyno surgery.
I don't want hair implant surgery. I don't want gyno surgery.
You're not a true looks maxer, Scott.
You're building the case as to why you shouldn't jump on PEDs for anyone watching my video that's thinking about doing it. Like, imagine me sitting you down and be like, listen, you're going to take these PEDs, you're going to get jacked, you're going to get shredded. Your hair might fall out a bit earlier, but don't worry, we got hair implants for that. We can put you in surgery. You might get some gyno around your nipples and get some man titties, but don't worry, we have ways to hopefully try to avoid that. But if we can't, we can still put you in the operating room and get you surgery for that.
As I'm watching this, I think it's really just hitting me. This is a core difference between low inhibition and high inhibition people. People like Scott that are more high inhibition. They're like, oh, but why would I want to do that in the first place? Even if the risk is there and small, it's still there. I don't want to get surgery, even if it's just cosmetic. I don't want to have to do more drugs on top of the drugs, right? Somebody like Runvus is like, dude, fuck it. Take the stuff. There's options, remedies. You know what I mean? So it kind of depends on what side of that spectrum you fall on too. Because I think in general, people that jump on gear, especially the sooner they do it, and like I've told you guys, so many people go on their first day or week or month in the gym, both men and women. It's extremely common, has been for decades. I think the people that jump on really quickly, and especially the more reckless they are, the more stuff they just keep taking, I think you can safely say they're very low inhibition. And that can manifest itself negatively in a lot of other ways too, sometimes with other drugs.
5'10 at 175. After 27 years of consistent training, 5'10, 175 is not good, buddy.
They're always so fixated on how much you weigh.
It's like that common trope, if you're under 200 pounds, your so-called victim weight. Scott is about my height, right? 5'10", and he's lean here. I mean, the lighting's pretty mid. It looks like he's got pretty visible abs, even after 27 years. I mean, I don't know how much Scott has, like, I guess so-called seriously pursued maximum size the entire time. Based on what he's recently said, it seems like he hasn't been. And even then, dude, 27 years, like, you hit the essentially Natty limit a while ago. Realistically, like how much more gains can he really make? Very, very minimal. And if he does, you could argue he's going to have to get fatter than he wants to get. And he's just like, fuck it, I'm past that point. But 175 pounds at this height and this body fat, guys, this is a lifelong goal for the vast majority of you. Okay, let's assume Scott's got roughly average genetics. Dude, it's going to take a lot of work to get to this, okay? Could you push more after 27 years? Yeah, probably. Do you want to, though? Most guys don't want to. You're not going to be willing to do what it takes, even naturally, to do that. You're going to have to be hyper-fixated on every aspect of the lifestyle to simply squeak out an extra half a pound of muscle in a year or two after 8, 9, 10 years of training. Way too many of you are barely making that level of progress now, and you're still novices. Please check out my training programs linked down below. I have all the information you need, not just another list of exercises to make way more gains in way less time than you thought possible. Get out of novice purgatory. And you can find tons of testimonials on my site as well from guys that have used them and made tons of progress.
For me, it hasn't really been about how much I weigh. It's been about how lean I look and how strong I am.
So he's more focused on the body weight multiplier, which makes sense. And keep in mind too, if you want to really maximize your strength overall, but especially naturally, you're going to have to carry more body fat than what he's currently having here. And on top of that as well, focusing on the weight, as I've talked about too, that is the fastest way to balloon up and overbulk and gain too much fat, too much water. It is the speed run to ruin your physique, focusing on just the scale hitting a certain number.
It's almost like these guys don't live, maybe they're like, I couldn't find his age. I'm assuming he's a lot younger than me.
I think he's roughly my age, like late 20s.
27 years of lifting consistently, all right? I wasn't in the hyperbolic time chamber where the only thing I could do was lift weights, okay? Life also happened in those 27 years.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Scott's got a wife, maybe kids, business on the side. You're going to have to cut some workout short, maybe miss a day, push your training back, low on sleep, don't recover as properly as you wanted to. There's so many things.
I started when I was 14 years old.
Yeah, and we all know that 14-year-olds tend to be very well-versed in proper training. They obviously don't. So keep in mind when he says this many years too, a lot of those years at the beginning especially probably were suboptimal, as were my nearly first 3 years.
But when you're younger, you don't have as many responsibilities. So in my early teens, throughout my 20s, I could be in the gym every single day, 2 to 3 hours a day.
And you see these young guys in the gym, they always go in the packs, you know, the roaming broccoli heads, and you see them on the pec deck, and you're just like, oh my god, you're going to be waiting 20, 30 minutes for that shit. And then they just go on all these machines, and they never leave the freaking gym. Then they see the other pack of broccoli heads, and they start talking.
I worked in a gym as a general manager.
I used to as well.
I was in the gym all day, every day, for almost half of my life, and I was able to dedicate a lot more time to training. Then as you get into your 30s and now into your 40s, you have a family, you have kids, you have all these other responsibilities. You have to mow the lawn, you have to fix the car, you have to go on vacation. All your friends are getting married, they're having kids. You have to be their godparent, you have to go to all these events, right? Like, life happens.
And this is why the really successful bodybuilders, Dorian Yates talked about this, he lived like a monk. You essentially have to be a good bodybuilder, at least for long stretches of time, especially during prep. You cannot be living like a normal person. It just is not compatible.
To be able to literally look the way I look at 41 years old and have abs my entire life is not an easy thing to do. And you guys know this because I talked about it. The last 5 years haven't been the easiest for me because I've been building my gaming franchise. And it's like 15 hours a day sitting at the computer.
I don't know his exact training right now, but it would not surprise me if Scott's doing like 3-4 days a week, 45 minutes to an hour, kind of in and out type of training, because at a certain point, that's all you can manage.
Because I just feel like a lot of his audience is young, and they literally think for 27 years, I just went to the gym every day for 2 hours, and then this is the result. And by the way, the result is actually still pretty damn good.
This is not something that you should be like trying to stunt on natural lifters with.
Well, I don't think he was trying to stunt on enhanced lifters. based on his reel.
I know a lot of unnatural lifters that were pretty hardcore for like 4 or 5 years, maybe like 8 to 10 max, and then hopped off and life hit and they couldn't maintain their look and they lost all of their gains. Some died also too due to complications of steroids, right? But again, those are the risks.
It was 165 shredded. 165 shredded after 27 years of lifting is bad for pretty much everyone.
Again, it's really not, because I look incredible at 165 and I have great strength. My joints feel great. I can run outside. I can do a Tough Mudder. I can do a Spartan race. I can even still work on my car and put my arms in the engine bay and get to what I need to also enjoy that hobby.
Going off of that too, guys, 165 pounds. Now, shredded is subjective. That in of itself is extremely hard for most men. Like, most men are never going to get there. I talk about that in my recent video reacting to Jeff Nippard's breakdown of all these body fats. But the idea so many guys have, I'm going to get to 12% easily. No, you're not. Let alone 10. Let alone sub 10. I mean, we're talking microscopic fractions of people that are ever going to get there, even with full effort, and even with steroids on top of that, and even fat loss peptides too. So let's just say 10% body fat, right? If you think that at 5'10", 165 is something you're going to easily achieve, no. You think you're going to achieve it quickly? No. Maybe after 10 plus years you could start to, probably be there or around that. Most guys still underestimate their body fat too, by the way. But especially given the circumstances he's talked about, after a certain point, you're not going to really be at your peak anymore. You're going to start to gradually taper off naturally. I think you can minimize it as much as possible, but it's inevitable to some extent.
So, you're trying to use this video as a way to talk down on people for taking PEDs.
I was actually more or less using the video to talk up my fellow natural athletes.
Yeah, I didn't see the framing as trying to talk down to enhance people still.
And to talk up my fellow males that are in their 30s and 40s that have been training consistently. That was actually the point of the video. But I can understand why he felt the way he did. And I don't mind his opinion. I don't want you guys to go on his video and leave nasty comments or anything like that.
Runvus has told me since he posted this, he's been swarmed by the Natty Mafia and the Natty cult, which is not surprising. That's what they do. They are essentially Natty jihadists, just minus actually blowing themselves up.
You can come from this side, the all-natural side, the PED side, and look at a video like I did here and have a very different opinion on it.
Genetic specimen. Look at me. I did this all natural.
He didn't even imply he's a genetic specimen.
We believe you, buddy. We believe you did this naturally. If you did this on PEDs, you'd be getting clowned even fucking harder.
You know the best part? There are guys that have been on and off steroids for 27 years that do not look like this. A lot of you think I'm joking. Watch this video. It gives a brief sample, but it's so common, guys.
He has such harsh words, but let's look at the side by side. They both physiques look great, bro. You look great. I look great. We both look great. Your transformation was really good.
So Scott's not going the route that he tries to put him down like so many people do. It becomes the mud flinging. You look like shit. You look like shit. That's low IQ stuff, I think. Granted, this transformation here, even with steroids, guys, this is rare, okay? Most guys, especially from his starting point on the left here, I don't know how much he takes, assume it's a good amount, whatever. Most people on steroids do not achieve this level of transformation, okay? It is uncommon for someone that starts like his position, if you want to say skinny fat roughly, right? A lot of guys on steroids, even good amounts, they still look like the left photo. Now, you could argue that he could have achieved the same result naturally. You're probably right. That said, would he have done so in the same time frame? No, he would not have. So if you want to speed run the process, if you want to step on the gas, right, you take the steroids.
I mean, I don't know why you needed to hop on gear to get your transformation. I was able to do mine naturally.
Like I just said, it's the time frame more than anything else.
There's a lot more dudes out there hopping on gear, making content, and it is causing more body dysmorphia in the fitness space. And I think that's a big reason as to why the fitness space has become so damn toxic.
We'll let him finish, but I think you could argue the toxicity is inherent, especially in online spaces. But as things become more and more content driven, that drives toxicity by default.
Just that no one knows who to believe anymore.
Well, of course not, because it's just endless lies, like decades and decades and decades of lies stacked on top of each other. And now you've got full-on productions from guys like Jeff Nippard who defend dudes that are obviously not natural. So that's it. Not much more to really add here. I will just reiterate, if you think a physique like Scott's, even after 27 years, because as we talked about, it's not 27 ideal years of training, but even so, let's take the lifetime scope of this, because he started training very young. He's still relatively young, like 41's not old in the grand scheme of things. In terms of the general sort of lifting crowd, he's definitely much older, but 41 in the grand scheme of life is not that much. So, overall, his physique there, this is really a lifetime goal for almost all of you watching. For your genetics, for your goals, for your circumstances, you get close to this, you're golden, okay? Somebody like Runvus, he's more focused on getting as big as possible, and then getting as shredded as possible, bulking, cutting cycles, right? He's one of the guys that he essentially lives like a bodybuilder but doesn't do bodybuilding, which is fine. But the more hardcore people, whether they compete or not, you're mimicking the bodybuilders because they have the formula down. So this is something you're going to have to navigate for yourself. But I will say, a lot of you that have the big aspirations to get so huge and or so shredded, you're going to learn in a lot of ways that it's not going to pan out for you, whether you take steroids or not. And beyond that, you probably don't actually want that life. Because what goes into that life, the drugs, the food, the training, the obsession, the restriction, most people don't want that. You may in the moment, whenever you're watching these videos, you get hyped up and motivated. Let life take its course. I think a lot of you are going to realize you don't actually want that. Now that said, to simply get good results in a reasonable time frame, you do have to lock in your training and your eating, especially naturally, and especially if your genetics are pretty much in the middle. So on that note too, be sure to check out my body composition Bible, full, very, very in-depth nutrition guide, so much more detail than any nutrition content you've seen up to this point. I guarantee you that.